Hi, my name is James Enns. I'm professor of history here at Prairie College. So is there a history or a legacy that Christians can draw on that can inform our own time as to how we can respond to our current pandemic? And right from early on in the history of Christianity, the Christian community has faced similar kinds of pandemics. Early on, the middle of the 2nd century, what was known as the Aurelian Plague swept through much of the Roman Empire. A century later, what was known as the Cyprian Plague swept through, killing again significant numbers of people. Much closer to our own times, there's of course the Black Death that hit Europe in about 1348, probably one of the most lethal ones that we've experienced in our part of the world in known history. I think we see something that is highly infectious in the coronavirus, but comparatively speaking is not nearly as lethal. What it does share, though, is the fear factor. And so that response, how do Christians respond to fear, is perhaps one of the most informative things that we can take with us. To a degree, we should be doing what the church has always been doing. We're called to be faithful witnesses, to practice getting together, to be in prayer, to reach out to the less fortunate, the needy, and the afflicted with kindness and charity in the name of Christ. And that runs fairly consistent through the various pandemics and the way Christians have responded to them. Secondly, I think we can be creative. That pandemics offer an opportunity, I think, for lay Christians to, in a sense, practice the priesthood of all believers. And it's at that time that lay Christians can really begin to exercise, I think, their gifts and abilities in pastoral care, in offering services that normally we limit to the professional priesthood and we say we don't have enough training for. Well, crisis kind of democratizes that whole process, and all of a sudden we find ourselves in positions to do things that we would normally allow pastors to do, to hear confessions, to offer words of advice, to share where we can in a kind of a sacramental ministry. And that's, I think, an encouraging sign for lay believers to begin to exercise a kind of priesthood of all believers. We can live faithfully as Christians, faithful to not undermine government and health authority initiatives that are put in place for our well-being, but at the same time being creative as to how we work within those constraints to bring the gospel in perhaps new ways and ways that are going to be effective in witnessing to the life-changing power of Jesus Christ.